Hey everybody, welcome to the It Takes a Village radio show. I am your host, Brittney Seay, and I am a children's book author and also founder of America's #1 children's pen pal service and brilliant creations developer, Brittney and Pals. I'm super excited today because I have a very special guest with me, Officer Nakaya Jones. I'm super excited to have you today. So I have a couple of announcements before we dive in with Officer Nakaya, because this is going to be a very informative and great show and discussion that is needed. We need to keep having these type of discussions, so I don't want to take long. I'm just going to make a couple of announcements, and we're going to get right into our conversation. Officer Nakaya. So first and foremost, I'd always like to give thanks to God. Thanks to God for such a great opportunity to be able to host my own radio show, because I'm very passionate about youth empowerment. So to have this show to express that means a lot to me. So I just want to thank God. Thank you for my business, Brittney and Pals. I reach children through in a very unique way every month through USPS. We touch on moral character development and also sensory. I send things, unique gifts that are educational and also fun at the same time. So it's kid subscriptions. If you'd like to find out more about that, you can visit www.brittneyandpals.info. And it's more information about Brittney and Pals on there and what different packages I offer for my mail-outs right now. And Brittney is spelled Brittney, and pals.info. Also, if you have not had the chance to purchase my new book, Pete's Playhouse, you may do so at BrittneySeay.com, and it's BrittneySeay.com. So you may do that, and also on my social media platforms is the link to purchase my book. You can follow me at Brittney and Pals on Facebook and Instagram. And also, if you have not had a chance to do so, you can go ahead and follow It Takes a Village Radio on Instagram and Facebook as well. So go, you guys, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, you can go ahead and share this. This will be a very informative show, and I'm super excited about it because this is a very special woman who is sitting next to me, who is courageous, and I'm just so honored to have her on my show today. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and jump in, actually. So Officer Nakaya Jones, how you doing today?
I am doing amazing. I really am. And I want to thank you, Brittney.
Of course.
You are an amazing, amazing young woman.
Thank you so much, Officer Nakaya Jones. I appreciate that. And just, everybody knows who you are. But I just want to read a little of your bio so they can get a more feel for you. That way we can go ahead and get into our conversation and they see exactly, where we're going with this, okay?
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to read a little bit of Officer Nakaya Jones's bio. And so to start, being called for such a time as this, Officer Nakaya Jones's passionate and heartfelt outcry over the death of Alton Sterling and other young African-American males went viral and took the nation by storm. As seen on BET, The Roland Martin Show, The Tom Joyner Show, and other media outlets across the country, Officer Jones has been very vocal about her outrage over the actions taken by some of her fellow men in blue. This life-altering experience inspired Officer Jones to write her book titled The Truth Divided, which was released in April of 2018. She chose criminal justice as her major because she was aspiring to become a prosecuting attorney. However, in 1996, she chose a different career path, and in September of that year, she was sworn in as a police officer for the city of East Cleveland. Officer Jones always wanted to be a productive member in her neighborhood. In 1999, Officer Jones joined the Highland Hills Police Department, and in 2002, she was sworn in as the first African-American female officer for the city of Warrensville Heights. I love that. On many occasions, Officer Jones sat with juveniles and their families while off duty to help resolve conflict. Officer Jones's fervent plea over the death of Alton Sterling shook the nation. As her words resounded from coast to coast, it became very clear that her life would never be the same. She has already released her book, The Truth Divided, and is now considering authoring a follow-up book as her journey for justice continues. She believes that if you want change, it starts with the person you look at every day in the mirror. If you want change, you must be that change. Officer Jones is also a well-known gospel playwright. She believes that through her gospel plays, she can help restore hope and change lives, one gospel play at a time. If you ask Officer Jones about a quote that describes her, she would say, "I am my sister and my brother's keeper." She believes that with a little compassion and unselfishness, we can all make a difference and change the world. So I'm super excited about this conversation. I was up the other night trying to come up with questions that I wanted to ask you, and I was just like, I came up with the questions, but I know that we are going to talk about way more than I even have on this paper. So to begin with, your life changed after that video went viral. Please take us back to the day that you decided to post a video that went viral regarding police brutality. What was the last straw that made you feel like you needed to speak up in that video?
We are all not blind to the issues between law enforcement and especially the African American community, or some people say the poor community, because I cannot say this not just injustice towards us. Sometimes it is a financial thing. It's the poor communities that are not being treated as well as the richer communities.
Right.
So I did see that. That was astonishing to me because I wore the uniform, the same uniform I get out here. A lot of people don't understand that being a police officer is very hard. We take on so many different hats. We are counselors. We are judges at some point. We are babysitters. We are doctors at some point. We have so many things that we have to take on, and people don't understand we're human like everybody else.
Right.
So as time went on, when I first started in law enforcement, it was so different. It was a respect for the badge. It was a certain honor to wear that uniform. It was like you were proud to be an officer.
Right.
A lot of officers, they really did have that humble spirit, like we're here to serve. We want to protect people. Of course, yeah, we have to make arrests, but we were really here to make a difference. We were role models. It seemed like somewhere as the years went on, something got lost. I don't know what it was. The profession just changed.
Right.
The demeanor towards law enforcement was different. People started hating law enforcement. It was like a shift, a total different shift. So I got to see it from both sides. I got to see people that had never even interacted with police officers that hated officers because of what they were seeing. So I was assaulted by a 16. Yes, I was assaulted by a 16-year-old girl that I had never done anything to. And the first thing she yelled was, "Mike Brown, B."
Wow.
And I'm like, but I'm here to help you.
Right.
Why are y'all? And so it made me start feeling some kind of way like the community don't want us here. What is going on? But then in the same token, I knew the community needed us. But then I had people that loved good officers. I think watching my son become terrified of officers that wore the same uniform as I did, and he's never been in trouble with the law in his life.
Wow.
Straight A student. For him to wake me up out of my sleep, and he knows I work 12-hour shifts. And I tell him this story. I come home, get my girls off to school. I'm in bed. I'm exhausted, and I'm tired from the night before. I may have just walked through hell to get home.
Right.
Nobody knows what I just went through to make it home. So I'm resting, and for him to wake me up, and when he woke me up, it startled me. He was like, "Ma, did you see the killing?" And it, honestly, immediately I thought it was a black-on-black crime. Something in our city happened. I'm like, what happened?
Right,
I'm like, what? And he's like, a police officer. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, one of our officers was involved in a police-involved shooting. He said, no, they just killed him. And if you could have seen, I've never seen a light fall out of my son's eyes before in my life. It looked like he was terrified. And to see that, I'm a mother first. I mean, I get the uniform, I respect that, but I'm a mother first. And so to see the terror in his eyes, I'm like, all right, let me see this video. And when I watched the video, it disturbed me. And I'm not gonna lie, and I tell people this all the time, in law enforcement, you'll hear most officers say, we're officers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can get written up being a police officer, being off duty.
Right.
It's that serious. So immediately when I saw the video, I started looking at it from a police officer standpoint. What did he do wrong? Did he do something? Did he pull something? What did he do? And it vexed my spirit, even me looking at it from a law enforcement.
Both, right.
And then when I stepped up outside of my uniform and looked at it from a mother standpoint, I'm like, oh my God, what if that was my son?
Because that was somebody's son, so.
Exactly. So then it was almost like as I'm watching it, God allowed me to take the face of Alton Sterling off of his body and put my son's face, and it shook me to my core. And that's when I saw all these mothers that's been crying out saying, is somebody going to stand up for us? God said, this is the time now. Yeah. And that's what pushed me. And if anybody saw, it was a passionate plea.
It was very passionate.
And but I didn't just slam police officers, because there's a lot of good officers.
Both sides,
right. And then I even also a passionate plea to us as African Americans. Stop killing each other.
It's not just, police bashing. You also talk about us and what we can do as a community different as well.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think just seeing that in my son's eyes, it did something to me.
Yeah. So that's what sparked that video. Wow. Okay, so I saw the video and immediately thought, wow, this lady is very courageous and passionate. I knew that the road ahead would be long for you after seeing the video. Why is it important to stand in your truth regardless of what the consequences may be?
You know what, honestly, I just keep hearing, what profits a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? I can be all these different things to other people, but if I can't sleep at night, if I'm not all right with me,
conscience, right?
Absolutely, I would go crazy. I don't understand how people do that. I had to be all right with me. The only thing that was affecting me was the things that people were doing on the outside, but when I would go to bed at night, I knew I was all right. And I knew what I was saying was going to be heard by the right people, and that change was going to begin. I knew it was, and it did.
Yeah, it did. It did. Definitely. That video, it was just very powerful. Like I was telling you out there, I watched the video over and over again, and when I met you at Christina Johnson's event, I just didn't connect the two. I was like, and then when we got home, me and my mom were talking about it, and she was like, yeah, that was the officer. I was like, that was her. I connected the dots afterwards, and then I was like, because I remember exactly the video. So we pulled the video back up. We started watching it again, and we were like, that's her. Like, this is her. Like, we got to meet you in person, and we were so honored to be able to meet you because, I mean, your family relocated to Georgia because of, death threats your family was receiving behind all of the chaos that happened with the police department letting you go and everything, and I don't even want to give them too much fame or anything like that, but I just feel like if God is for you, then no one can be against you. Yes. And what you're doing at this moment is the most important, and I feel like God used you to speak out then, and it pierced some people, even if they didn't like it. The message got to them. So that's the most important, and I really appreciate you for that. I really do.
Thank you.
Your bio stated that you help juveniles and their families resolve conflicts even while off duty. Why was helping juveniles important to you? And I wanted to state, this is a place where we have influential conversations regarding youth empowerment. Law enforcement and youth interaction is very important. They have to be able to trust law enforcement. Law enforcement has to give them respect as well. It can't just be one-sided. Absolutely. So, why was helping juveniles important to you as an officer?
I always look at still, you all are our future. The youth is our future, and we put into you all, we're responsible for. So sometimes I had to step in the role of a mother for a juvenile. That mother's at work. Right. That's the same way I would want her to do for me. If it was my child, I would want her to step into those shoes. So I had to be a mother. Sometimes I had to be a comforter to mothers, but that was my job. My job was to serve. It didn't say your job is to go arrest people, treat them like crap, make them feel less than.
Just because you have a badge.
Right, and just because they made a mistake, beat them down. Heck, if every law enforcement officer is totally honest, we have all done something in our lives that we all could have went to jail for. Right. And it's the truth. We just decided to change. People can change.
Right.
And that's how I feel. And I felt like if I can just plant a positive seed. I had children telling me at 15, 14, 13 years old telling me I ain't got nothing to live for. That's a hurting feeling. Yeah. I don't have nothing. I had 13, 12 years old talking about I want to kill myself. What do you know about suicide?
Right.
You are a baby. You're talking about doing a permanent fix for a temporary situation. So I would talk to them and I would speak life into them because I would pray, Lord, let this come back to them in that time of darkness. They can hear my voice.
Right.
And it's so funny. I never did it for recognition. Nobody in the police department knew. Yeah. Nobody knew it. It came out in the book when I started to write. But I have people that were coming back to me and said, Officer Jones, do you know you're the reason why I graduated? And I would just tear up. because I'm like, look, God, all right, it's all right. I am doing all the heck that I'm going through. I'm doing something right.
Right. You doing definitely something right, even still to this day. You know, it's just true courage to be able to do that, and not just do that. Like, you are an officer who, you know, you were an officer who was very passionate about your community. So to be able to step in and do that, and I'm pretty sure many other people were thinking exactly what you said, but no one had the courage to step up and actually say those words. And I love the fact how your son, that was the last straw for you, you know. So do you think if your son wouldn't have said, you know, what he said that to you that day, that video probably would have happened?
It would have happened. Eventually, it would have happened. It just, that was like the storm. It was just like
your baby.
That's my, and I already was feeling the storm inside of me brewing, you know. Like I said, I worked with a lot of good officers, but I've worked with some bad apples as well.
Yeah.
And I've always been vocal. I always, what are you doing?
Right.
What, you're not about to, I can arrest you with respect. Just like I tell people, when you're dealing with law enforcement, you have to understand we're not robots. We're human beings too. So if you continue to be disrespectful and push the envelope, they're going to respond. They're human beings.
Right.
And I think if police officers in the community just sit down at a table and have an honest, heart-to-heart discussion, you are both saying the same things. The good officers want to get rid of some of these bad officers. Trust me.
They want them to take off the uniform.
Absolutely,
like you said.
Absolutely. And the good people in the community that want their community to be safe want some of these people that don't want that to move out of the community. So now if you start banding together, how can you tell a community or get mad at some of the community when they won't tell on people? You don't want to snitch, huh? But then you're telling law enforcement, well, I'm not going to say, I know this officer ain't right, but I'm not going to say nothing. Isn't that the same thing?
Yeah.
That's double standards.
Right.
You can't have the community saying you want them to tell about people that are not right in the community, but you want us to be quiet about officers that shouldn't be in uniform.
Right.
It don't work that way. It's got to be a balance.
It has to be. So the next question, I hear people say sometimes that African American males should just listen and follow directions to stay out of trouble with police officers. Clearly, things are not that simple. Just take a look at Alton Sterling or Philando Castile and so many others. They did everything they were supposed to do and still ended up being murdered senselessly. From your standpoint, how do you think they can stay safe during a routine pullover or interaction with law enforcement?
That's funny. I'm asked this all the time. I always tell you, comply. I get it. Listen, I understand y'all angry. I understand you're upset. I understand y'all feel like, you know what, I'm tired. I get it. I'm tired. I get it. Trust me. Once I'm able to tell my entire story, I get it. But the first thing you want to do is go home safely. You want to go home to your family. If you start a fight with a police officer out on the street, you will never win. That is not where you fight a law enforcement officer if they're not right. You fight them inside the station. You go, you do a police report. You say, listen, I want to file a complaint and I want a copy of my complaint. You go back and you follow up, but you always remain respectful and you always comply. You want to see my hands? Here's my hands. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. Because some officers, you have no idea, they're waiting. They itching. I know officers. I know, just give me a reason so I can act up.
A wrong look,
anything. Don't give that to them. And then if there's, look at the badge number. Okay, yes, sir. Look at the badge. Remember what was said to you. Then go and you file in a complaint. When you file a complaint, you file it in a certain manner where you're respectful. Can I see the supervisor?
Right.
If you are angry, go home and calm down. Get somebody you know that, all of us got friends that do good under pressure.
Right.
You might be a hothead. I can't do it because I'm ready to cuss. Get you somebody that you know can speak elegantly, or it takes a lot to push them. They can sit down and say, this is what happened. We want to put this on paper and we want a copy of it. And we want to follow up in 2 weeks and find out what happened.
Right.
You understand what I mean? Because then you make the chiefs and the sergeants responsible for their officers. Because if there's no paper trail, how do you know this is a bad officer?
Right. Exactly.
And then the other thing is, just the same way you don't want officers to judge you as a black man or a black woman or a white male or a white woman, Don't judge every officer the same way. Just because you interact with an officer and they can be a jerk, black or white, don't look at the next officer the same way. Try them the same way. I'm going to treat you the way you treat me.
Right. Exactly.
So I would always say comply.
Comply. That's the main thing.
Comply. Try. You know what? Comply. Listen. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. If you don't understand, tell them I didn't understand your questioning. Make sure they can understand what you're saying. It's not time to mumble. I didn't understand you. If you're scared, tell them. You know what? I'm a little uncomfortable. You know, I'm letting you know I'm uncomfortable. If you have any ailments, sir, I have some hearing issues. Tell them whatever is going on with you. I'm very, very nervous. I got a nervous twitch. Whatever. Tell them I don't want to hurt anybody. I just want to go home. Right. And always keep your hands where they can see them. Because if they can see your hands, you're not a threat.
Right. Okay. Well spoken. So if they can see your hands, you're not a threat.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. So do you think that socioeconomic status plays a role in the disconnect between African Americans and law enforcement? We kind of talked about this outside. And I was thinking that, I'm like, well, do they have more respect for people with certain occupations? Or I guess if they hear someone in your family is a law enforcement officer, do they get automatically more respect? Or, hey, you make over this amount of money a year. These people in this neighborhood don't make this amount of money. Is there more respect because of socioeconomic status? Because I personally think so, but I want to ask your opinion.
Well, what I will say is in Ohio, a lot of the top suburbs, the high suburbs where, honestly, to be totally honest, their police departments are ran a little differently. Okay. They're very community-oriented. They have their police officers in the community. You see the DARE officers in the schools. You see the the resource officers in the schools. You see, because those parents don't play. They want to know who their law enforcement officers are. They want to have a relationship with their law enforcement officers. They want law enforcement in their schools. They want those officers there and have a relationship with their
kids can be safe.
Yes, but when you come into the poor neighborhoods, if you pay attention, you don't have DARE officers. You don't have community-oriented policing because they're saying we don't have the money, we don't have the funding. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have a relationship, and so now you're seeing what you're seeing on TV. You're seeing every time you see something, it's an officer killing somebody. So now you got people watching this, and they're afraid of police, and now you got police officers afraid of the community. So now when I meet you and we meet on a bus, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem. So I think that when you're in a upper-class community, I believe the departments are ran better. And I'm being totally honest. I don't care what nobody say. It's the truth. I also believe that some officers, not all, some officers, when they're in a more deprived neighborhood or maybe not so high socially status, they feel like I'm doing you a favor. But when they're in the rich neighborhoods, they understand that money talk. Right. They understand that if I mess with Mr. Thomas, who's a well-known person in the community that has a high social status, he has money, if he comes and talks to the chief, I might lose my job. I can have a problem. Yeah. Whereas they feel like if Mr. Thomas that lives in the project comes and files a complaint about an officer, it's going to be a joke. Oh, we arrested him before. It shouldn't be that way. Or he smoked weed before or something like that. But if you look at Mr. Thomas, who lives in a predominantly wealthy community, white or black, he smokes weed too. Y'all just didn't know that. Right. You understand what I mean? So I just feel like it's not a balance. You're right. Yeah. It is off balance.
It's off balance with that. So what I'm hearing from that is, okay, so when we think about law enforcement, we shouldn't just think law enforcement is the same across the board. It's different in every community?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you said you feel like it's ran better in more rich communities.
To me, because they end up with they make sure that certain issues are addressed immediately. You know, like I said, in a lot of our schools, especially in the departments I worked in, it was lack of funding, so they were pulling the DARE officers out of the schools, resource officers. We weren't doing community-oriented policing anymore, so it wasn't like you would know, hey, Officer Jones, you wasn't seeing me. I was either writing tickets or we didn't have the manpower, so I was always tied up on a call. So the only time you would deal with me is in a crisis. How can you trust me if the only time you're dealing with me is in a crisis?
Right, where my emotions are high and I'm going through things.
Absolutely.
You're not interacting with me on a level where it's just an everyday, how are you doing?
Right, even in career day. Y'all remember my career day, we used to have law enforcement police officers there because it was like, ooh, everybody. Right. Now, we don't even do career days a lot of times. Not in the poor communities.
Right.
We don't. We just, we don't, it's like, okay, why wouldn't you want officers in there to start making these children comfortable? Start addressing real things, asking them, why are you afraid of us? What have we done? How can we make you more comfortable? Then we can tell them, this is why we react to certain things. You know, there are children your age that I've really taken a gun off of an 8-year-old. So now you make them start thinking differently. You know, that's what's important, and that's what I feel like my goal is now, is to go out and educate the community, educate law enforcement, start bridging the gap, because if not, I'm telling you, this is a storm waiting to explode.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Which is why I really wanted to have you on this show. Not just because, you know, your video went viral, but because of your passion for the community. And I mean, simple as it said, the truth divided, like your book. You don't just see things from an African-American female point of view. You see it from law enforcement as well. You were the first female sworn officer for your Warrensville Heights. So you've seen things, you know, that we haven't seen. You were just telling me outside about some facts about the Tamir Rice case that I didn't even know about, you know? So I think it is important. And, you know, even with myself sometimes, you know, seeing things on the media, in media and things like that, I'm like, you know, I feel some type of way. I really, really do. I don't have children, but I just think about other people's son. Trayvon Martin's mother, like, just to see the hurt on her face, his dad's face, you know what I mean? It's very hurtful to watch, you know? But there is another side, and I understand that, and I think we all have to understand that.
Absolutely.
So that's why I just appreciate you even having this conversation. So now that you are not currently active in law enforcement, what are you up to?
I feel like I'm free. No, I'm just
you should feel that way.
I am. I really do. I have been honored to and been asked to speak at different events, and I'm very grateful. And everywhere I've been, God has allowed me to help bridge the gap or make people understand both sides, and I thank Him for that. I've officially moved to Georgia. I'm so excited. In 2007, I was thinking about moving here, but I was afraid.
You were afraid?
I was terrified. I'm like, oh, I don't know nothing I don't know nobody down there. I got a career here, and God kept saying, go. In 2007, I was married before my husband I'm with now to a bishop of a church. And that's a story in itself. It's hard being a first lady. So the first ladies, I love y'all because I get it. I started going through some turmoil within me, and I started writing. I started writing gospel plays. And in 2007, I put on my first gospel play at the Vineyard Center Ministries, and to see people changing, and it was so weird for me. I'd never seen nothing like people were like, you could see it was like it was darkness in their eyes, but after the play, you could see the light, and you could see like people were being healed, and people were crying, and people were.
It ministry.
Oh my God, I've never seen anything, and I started saying, "Oh my God, I want to do it again, Lord, I want to do it again." And then He just started. I could write a gospel play in 2 weeks and have no idea that I had wrote what I wrote. It was like God would just be using me, and then I would see it come to life. Like, I know if you ever heard people say a third eye, or they see things. I actually can see my plays like I'm drawing a picture. I can, and I see it. I said, God, what song do you want me to use? He'll give me the songs. What do you want me to put this? You want angels coming out the air? Okay, I'll do that. You want? It's like He'll show it to me, and so that was my gift. But I put my gift on the back burner because I felt like people needed me. I wanted to serve. I was abused as a child. I knew what it was like to feel like I was the underdog. I felt like I wanted to help. I wanted to save people, and God kept saying, I don't need you to save anybody. I'm teaching you to serve. I need you to see these different people, because you're going to be dealing with people from all walks of life. I need you to know when you're writing these gospel plays, I need for you to be real, and I didn't understand that. And I had said, after the video went viral and I went through what I had to went through with my department, it just was a lot of chaos. I kept saying, I want to end up leaving law enforcement, but I was afraid. And God said, you won't move? I'll move you. So what I will say is, yes, I was terminated from Warrensville Heights, But that was my Judas.
Yeah.
God knew what he was doing.
It was just the beginning.
It was just the beginning. That's all. So now I'm writing gospel. I'm actually going to do my first gospel play.
In the midst of the storm.
In the midst of the storm. Yes. In Rome, Georgia. I had a book signing there, and it was amazing. My book sold out in maybe a half an hour.
Wow.
It was amazing the way they embraced me. The churches down there embraced me. So my first play will be there. I'm looking so forward to it.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it as well. So your book titled "The Truth Divided" was released in April 2018. Can you tell us about that book and exactly what it means, "The Truth Divided"? Because I want people to understand about that book. Speaking of your book.
Yes, that book almost didn't come to pass.
Really?
No, I was not going to write that. I'm not writing. A friend of mine at the time, associate of mine, was like, you should write a book. I'm like, I'm not doing that because at the time I was about to put on my play, What Lies Between Friends. So I'm like, okay, all this is breaking loose at the police department. This video went viral. I'm about to, within a few weeks, my other play was supposed to, it was just too much going on. So she had offered, I'll write the book. And I'm like, okay, but we wouldn't connect. We could never connect. And I didn't know God was saying, no, because you're going to write your own story. I need people to hear your heart. That book was not meant to be spectacular or show who show off. It was, I wanted people to hear my heart because I believe what comes from the heart reaches the heart.
Yes.
So you actually, in that book, you see why I became a law enforcement officer. You see I didn't grow up in the suburbs. You see I grew up in the hood just like everybody else. You see that my mother was a drug addict. You see how she overcame and how the enemy tried to divide us, and now that is my best friend.
I love it.
Me and my mother are like this.
I love it.
Then it tells you about how good law enforcement officers, how we feel, and how when the Bible says there's no greater love than this, a man lay down his life for a friend. I always think about law enforcement officers. Our job is to jump in front of a bullet. But now, unfortunately, the community looks at us as we're terrorists. The very ones that's supposed to protect us is killing us. Right. But I'm saying all of us are not like that. Yeah. Hear the heart of a good officer. But I'm also saying good officers. Hear the cries of mothers saying we're tired of bearing our sons.
Exactly.
We're tired of y'all killing our sons. Y'all not hearing them. Y'all not listening to us. Good officers, are y'all hearing us crying out? Can you help us? Because we can't touch the bad officers. But you work next to them every day. Why are you allowing this to go on? Will somebody be our voice? So that book it actually shows you on both sides. So now you can get an understanding. And then inside the book it's a letter from a young man going home. If you read the book, it's a letter that says, basically it's talking, it says, hi officer, how do you know I'm not a young man coming home from college? Because I'm trying to get a degree to help my mother raise raise the rest of our family because she's a single mother. Right. And how do you know in a few years from now, you didn't know I'm gonna become a doctor? And how do you know that I may not be the doctor that's gonna save your life? It's so deep because my son wants to be a doctor. Aww. So that letter was from him. Wow. And I'm sorry, I get a little choked up, but this, y'all, has got to stop.
It has to. We
got to do something. And I'm pleading to some of these law enforcement officers. I get it. You don't want to break this code of silence, but it's time. It's getting to the point where people are starting to hate law enforcement officers to the point where they feel like it's a deep hate. We cannot allow that, y'all. It's time for officers to say, all right, y'all, we need to revamp some things. It's time for leaders, church leaders in the community to say, listen, it's time. We need to sit down at some tables. Some things need to change. It's time to change our training, change some things. All of us need to work together. It can't just be law enforcement. It can't just be the community. It has to be all. It can't just be blacks. It has to be everybody. Because it's affecting all of us. And that's what that book is. That book is saying, listen to my cries as a police officer. Listen to my cries as a woman. Listen to my cries as an African American. Listen to my cries as a mother. Yes. It's time for us to bridge this gap. And that's why I wrote the book. And it's funny because I put the book out on my birthday, April 30th.
Aww, wow.
And
so
it was
special.
Amazing. Yes.
If we don't bridge the gap soon, I'm just afraid of what's to come. I really am. We were talking about that outside, and I mean, if the bridge isn't is the gap, if the gap isn't bridged, like, what do you suspect will happen? Just senseless killings.
Just the senseless killings will continue going on. More law enforcement officers, even good officers, are going to be on edge all the time because they're going to be thinking, oh my God, you're going to have black males, black females, anybody, white males, white females, anybody's afraid of law enforcement. They're going to feel like, I'm daggone if I do, I'm daggone if I don't, so I'm just going to just put myself out there. I'm going to start doing things to them. I got disturbing letters saying, we about to start following your families home. What?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and y'all law enforcement officers, the ones that didn't agree for me speaking out, have no idea that I've spoke up on y'all behalf.
Yeah, you
and
actually
deterred
did.
some of them saying, that is not the answer. That don't make you right.
Right.
You gonna go, are you out? No, and a lot of them have stepped down. The last time that the Bloods and the Crips came to a peace treaty was after the Rodney King beating. And I know you may have been younger then, but after the video went viral, I had a picture, it's in my book, that the Bloods and the Crips sent to me. And they said, thank you, Officer Jones. And the one that sent it said, I never thought I would be thanking a police officer.
Wow.
You spoke up for us. And they sent me a picture of the Bloods and the Crips do-rags tied together. Wow. And then the last time was after the shooting death of Nipsey Russell. They did it again then.
Right.
But that is significant. If the Bloods and the Crips can come together, why can't we?
Why can't we? Right. Two major gangs coming together. That's major. In the Midst of the Storm play will take place in June. Can you inform the viewers and I on what inspired you to write this play?
My mother laughed. She says that the play was written before its time. I wrote it in 2014, and now we're doing it in 2019, and everything is not about law enforcement, so don't think it's going to be about me. It's actually, I don't want to give it all away, but it's about a mother really loving God and her faith being tested. It's just good. You have got to see this play. It's amazing. But some of the scripture and some of the things that are going on in the play, I was going through in Cleveland.
Wow.
It's so deep. And my mother kept saying this play when I said, I'm sold out for God now. I put my trust in man. I've always done that. And God said, why do you continue to do that? Right. So I had to be stripped all the way down. I'm talking about almost having a nervous breakdown. I was very sick. And then I had the car accident and dealing with the concussion. It just was a lot on me. I had to really, truly lean on God, and I'm not making this up. And I told my mother, I said, I'm sold out for God. Whatever he tells me to do. And in the play, at one point, it says, me turning back to my old ways is like me spitting in the face of God. And my mother, she'll bring it up and say, I told you this play was written. And then the play is called In the Midst of the Storm, and that's how I felt.
Wow.
I was in the midst of the storm. It was like, okay, I'm coming out, but the mist is still on me. I'm still, repercussions is still happening. I got to get out of this war zone in Warrensville Heights. I'm living in a city where all this is happening. I can't get a peace of mind. I couldn't, and God said, make haste. Go to Georgia. Now, what was deep was I went to my mom's church, and her pastor looked at my husband and said, get your wife out of here. Take her to Egypt. Take her to Georgia. I had never told this man that. When I tell you the doors opened up so easy for us to get here, I've never seen nothing like this before in my life. And I thank God, and the way you all have been embracing me. I really want to say thank you.
I'm glad you're here. I'm very glad you're here. Of course. And your son's in college. I see you post him sometimes. I love to see that. He's a young black male who is inspiring. He's doing his thing, and he's not a threat to anyone. I'm pretty sure that he helps everybody. So, and you have two sons, right?
Yes.
Two sons. So he's in college. How old is your other son?
He is 14.
14, and you have two daughters, right?
4.
4? Okay, so maybe I'm just seeing.
You saw the 2 babies. You didn't see my 2 older daughters.
Okay, so 2 older. Okay, so 4 daughters. Wow, that's amazing. How can the viewers connect with you?
All right, so I'm gonna give you The Real Officer Jones on Facebook because My Nakaya Jones page is almost full. So you're not. So if you go to The Real Officer Jones, please connect with me there. I always have topics there. People will ask me questions. I do live videos, absolutely. If you have questions about the play, how to get tickets for the play, you can go to my Nakaya Jones Productions page on Facebook as well. On Instagram, I am, hold on, I got to look it up, y'all. Y'all know I'm old.
Okay.
Y'all know I'm old. Look,
I think your IG is the officer. Was it Officer Nakaya Jones as well?
Officer IG is Officer Nakaya Jones Cleve, CLEVE.
You got it wrote.
Yes, my Twitter is at Jones Nakaya. Now listen, y'all. You gonna have to help me, Brittney. I don't know how to do Twitter. I need some of y'all young folk to help me with this Twitter thing.
I'm not really familiar with Twitter, but my mom's on there.
Okay, so I'm about to, because and so please make sure you all follow me. There are discussions that we have on there. I have a women's group on Facebook as well. Okay. That's called Healings for Women by a Woman, and it's powerful. We're actually in the middle of a 40-day faith walk.
Oh, okay. I meant to ask you. My mom said that you do classes or workshops in Cobb County. Can you tell about that?
We're about to. I actually work at a survivor outreach center with Miss Green. We do classes there, anger management. We're actually about to start doing something with couples and something with empowering women. I feel like women have been broken, but I believe that we are the key to bringing this world back the way it's our compassion. But we have to deal with some hurt. We have to deal with some unforgiveness. Right. We have to be built back up. And what better person to build another woman up than another woman? So I'm bridging that gap. And so we are going to start doing big workshops with healing women.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Doing God's word.
Yes.
Were you done? How can people purchase the ticket for your play in June?
Okay, so the ticket is, the play is June 29th and 30th. On the 29th, it's at 7 p.m. You can go to Eventbrite. I also, if you go on my page, on any of my pages, it's a link where you can click on and it tells you how to get tickets. On Sunday, the play is at 5 p.m., but that's because you get a meal with your play. On Sunday. So we're doing something a little different. So you get a whole
meal on Sunday.
Yes, with your play. Also, I want to extend to the pastors in Atlanta. I do believe that you are in charge of your sheep, if you will. Bishops, the same thing. I am inviting the first 10, and if it's your pastor, that's fine. If you inbox me at Officer Nakaya Jones Cleveland, the first 10, y'all, people that inbox me, I will give your pastor and first lady free tickets to Saturday night's show because I want them to see them. I believe the men and women of God also needs to feel that fire again because they pour so much out. They do. If you have a business and you purchase 10 tickets for the play, what we're going to do is we're going to mention your business in the cast book. We will also shout you out during intermission and at the beginning of the play. We believe in giving back. No matter what, I believe you have to give back. You know, to keep something, you have to give it back. I know a lot of people have been asking about donating to helping with the play. People are like, Nakaya, I know you lost a lot, and I have, y'all, but I'm fine. Yeah. God is doing something amazing. But if you do want to donate, some people are saying, how do I buy tickets just to donate? You can do it. Now, don't laugh at me, y'all. This PayPal stuff is a little bit different from me. It's paypal.me/N Nakaya Jones Productions. So make sure the N is capital, and you can donate if you like to. I appreciate you all so very much. And whatever you want to do.
We appreciate
Thank you.
So the It Takes a Village radio show is a place where we have influential conversations that are centered around youth empowerment. I bring guests on who are or have impacted youth in some type of way. Officer Nakaya, whether you are currently active in law enforcement or not, you have already made your mark. You have first made history by being sworn in as the first African-American female officer for the city of Warrensville Heights. Your passion in the viral video is what will actually make change in this world. You were chosen for such a time as this. Every word that you said in that video resonated with who it was supposed to, even the hate-filled individuals whom you were addressing. Your voice was heard loud and clear, and I just hope that you know you are the village. Everyone saw your courage, and more importantly, our youth saw and felt your passion for them. We appreciate you for your service and passion, Officer Nakaya. And I wrote that, and I really feel that. And I appreciate you so much. I really do.
Thank you so much.
And I'm so glad you're here in Atlanta, too.
Listen, Atlanta, I'm ready for y'all. I used to do a lot of speaking in schools. I've spoken at a few colleges. I'm ready. Yeah. Y'all let me know.
You're going to be really busy.
Yeah, if you have my assistant, let me make sure I put this out here. Oh my God, Jocelyn Hurst, I have to shout you out. I love you when I tell you she keeps me in. She the truth. If you want to book me or if you want me to come in, if you have any questions, you can call her at 216-333-5752. I would be honored. Aww. I would be honored to come and sit with the youth. The youth are my babies.
Yeah. And Jocelyn will promptly respond to you. Jocelyn, she's the truth. So before we close, Officer Nakaya, do you have any other words you'd like to say? Any closing remarks that you'd like to say before I do my closing?
I just want to thank you, first of all, for having me on the show and giving me a platform. Anytime I'm given a platform, I want to say thank you. I want to thank God. I know He's opening so many doors for me, and I get emotional because when I'm able to tell the full story. Yeah. Please, you all follow me on all of the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. There is a movie coming out soon. So
it's in the works.
It's in the works. Again, I want to thank you. I am very humbled. I'm honored and humbled. And again, you know my saying is, I am my brother and my sister's keeper, and I mean it. I don't care your social status. It doesn't make a difference who you are. I am your keeper, y'all. Don't give up yet. Yeah. Don't give up on us.
Awesome. I love that. I'm really grateful for you coming on the show. I'm honored. And I just thank you. I thank you for all that you're doing in the community. I can't wait to follow you. I can't wait to come and support you at your play and just follow everything that you're doing because I know it's going to be great, all of it that you're doing, okay?
Thanks.
So in closing, I just want to circle everything back around to the main goal of the show. The It Takes a Village radio show is a place where we have influential conversations that are centered around youth empowerment. We hope that the conversation that we had at the table today encouraged continuous conversations at home and in the community. Let's talk, take action, be present, and engage with one another to empower the lives of youth and everyone around us. I like to close with a scripture that I feel will definitely sum up today's show. And do not fear those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. And that comes from Matthew 10, verse 28. So with that scripture being said, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in to show number 6 of It Takes a Village radio show. We hope to see you guys next time. Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night.
What? I always do that. I guess I'll be so scared about I'll be so scared about going over it. So I just, I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. Okay.
It was amazing. Thank you.